Hey everyone, haven't made a new video in a while, and I was reading through your week 3 video responses about punching Nazis, and I thought, oh boy, I just have to make a new video. So at the outset, a couple things to clear up. Richard Spencer is actually a pretty hateful, angry, vile person. Um, I've listened to his speeches because I wanted to go find out more about him because of this video, and I mean, he used racist terms that I had to go look up. This guy hates Jews, hates blacks, and maybe some others, but at least that I know for sure. The people that are in the audience, they're like doing Hail Hitler salutes. So it's like gross. So this guy's bad news, real bad news, and he was not really being honest in that interview when he said, "Oh, the Nazis, those guys don't like me." That's not what I saw, pal. But this video brings to light some very interesting concepts of good versus evil, or what is evil, and what do we do about evil? Vigilante justice. When is it okay to take the law into your own hands? What happens if everyone did that? So those are really huge problems. Honor culture, or the idea of using violence against speech, right? We stopped that. We realized that was a bad way to run a society, or for society to operate. So the first and most obvious one, right, is he evil? Does he say evil things? Yeah, probably that's a fair way to describe it. And we can also even go a little bit further and say we know where those ideas lead. Right? We remember what happened in Nazi Germany. We've seen genocides take place where they were, one group dehumanizes another group and starts in on their inferiority versus superiority, which is of course all fallacious. But that's how that stuff sort of goes. So you could make the argument we know where that rhetoric leads us. It's true. That is true. And when we see the next step taken in action, right, then we are well justified to do something more than use our speech. But as it is just speech, we must counter speech with speech. And you may find that a bit frustrating. You may not be satisfied with that response. But consider Nazi evil, absolutely. Ethno-nationalist, whatever you want to call it, racist screeds and all that stuff, anti-Semitism, evil. Agreed. But what if it wasn't that particular topic that we were addressing? What if it was building a border wall? What if it was increased immigration restrictions? What if it was a discussion about men playing women's sports or transitioning children? People are very passionate about those topics. And there is still disagreement about those topics in our society. There's political disagreements. And it's not like, with a Nazi, you could say, wait a minute, so your argument is just that Jews are inferior and blacks are inferior? Well, that's not an argument. Whereas you get into the political realm more particularly, and you have, there's a disagreement here that we have to hash out. We have to find some middle ground, some compromise. The point is, people still accuse others of being evil for holding different opinions, and sadly, being Nazi, well, on one end of the spectrum, is still on the spectrum of things you disagree with. And until the action is taken to hurt other people, that's all it is, words, ideas. So unless you are willing to allow anyone who wants to engage in vigilante justice to go around punching and violating the rights of others they disagree with, then you really can't allow for this Richard Spencer a-hole to get punched either. That's a serious problem. Vigilante justice, think about it for a moment. We'll look at it from a kind of a Kantian perspective. Imagine that you, whoever you are watching the video, have certain things you are very passionate about. Maybe there are people or ideas in society that you think are evil, right? We all have something like that. I have some concepts like that. Should you be justified in using violence against people that espouse those ideas? What about me? What about all of the 70 or 80 individuals this semester that's going to watch this video? Should each of us be able to pick out our evil group and then go and perpetrate violence against them? What does that look like on a large scale? Not good. Completely impractical. And I'll even give you my personal example. Communism, socialism. I despise these concepts and I think they are evil. Why? Equity is not the natural state of human existence, and every time it's been forced upon us, hundreds of millions of people have died. Hundreds of millions of people have suffered greatly under attempts to impose equity through communism. Just like Nazis, where does this rhetoric lead us? This rhetoric leads to genocide. It leads to great harm, right? In the case of Nazis or ethno-nationalism or whatever. Okay, so we know those ideas lead. Let's use violence against them. Can I just go find any random socialist or communist in my workplace, because I work with some, or on the street who have a sign or protesting? Can I go punch them? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Even though I think their ideas are awful, terrible, and just like Richard Spencer, very poorly informed. Vigilante justice is a big no-no. And using violence against words is also a big no-no. Where does that leave us? It leaves us with the responsibility to have, a la Etzioni, our culture-wide dialogues to decide what is acceptable for our culture and what is not. And so I would hope that we would all reasonable people band together and push ideas of ethno-nationalism, white supremacy, or any supremacy out of the Overton window, out of the window of reasonable discussion. Push them out with words. And use solid, coherent arguments, which are easy to formulate because those are really dumb ideas. And use those to counter their very, very bad ideas that they espouse through their free speech. Unless you think, well, there are just certain ideas that we ought to limit or silence. Well, that gets real tricky, because I don't think you're going to find a group of 10 people or 1,000 people, for that matter, or 300 million, that are going to agree on what types of things are appropriate to speak about or not. And we are in a very interesting and authoritarian period in our modern history, where people are more than happy to ban books or silence speakers or prevent people from espousing ideas they disagree with. I hope you don't fall into that trap. That's not a way for us to move forward in a healthy society. Talk soon.